Welcome to the channel, welcome to today's run through of all the latest Manchester United news and transfer updates, keeping you right up to date with everything. I'm Jamie. Before we get into it, smash a like on the video, subscribe to the channel if you are new. Let's jump straight into it. So I'm just going to grab the bull by the horns and start with the Garnacho news. Because really interesting what's going on here. So firstly, this is an article from Gimme Sport via Fabrizio Romano, saying Garnacho sees Chelsea as the perfect opportunity to revive his career after a difficult season under Ruben Amorim. The decision on the player side is clear. Stamford Bridge is the only destination. Yes, only because despite calls from Erik ten Hag's Bayern Leverkusen, serious and big proposals from Saudi Pro League and even new attempts from Italy after Napoli deal off in January, Garnacho told all clubs, no thanks. Chelsea and Man United are in direct contact, but sources tell Gimme Sport that there's still a difference in valuation as Chelsea want to pay around £30 million and Man United start at from $50 million. We can also reveal that Chelsea offered the chance to include some players as part of the negotiations. Nicholas Jackson and Christopher Nkunku have been discussed, as well as Axel Disasi and Renato Vega. The answer from Manchester United, they want money, fresh money to reinvest on different positions rather than going for these players, despite the appreciation for some of them. So Fabrizio Romano in an article yesterday did via Give Me Sport, saying that Garnacho only wants Chelsea, but interestingly that he has refused deals. This is what I was saying in yesterday's video. If you watched that it's not United's fault, that we're trying what we can to sell these players. These players are just wanting, to go to certain clubs and are refusing offers and refusing deals from other places to go to their clubs, which I suppose is their right. But, and you can't really blame the club for that, though, because they've done all they can to try and sell these players, and he only wants to go to Chelsea. But interestingly as well, that we are now in club-to-club talks regarding the situation. Peter Hall said that Alejandro Garnacho's move to Chelsea is progressing. The player is very keen to get the move agreed. A fee around £50 million should lead to the move being completed in the coming weeks. With any money raised from potential sales, United will look to add another midfielder and possibly a goalkeeper. And then Fabrizio Romano later tweeted or said the following on DAZN Sport or DAZN News. Said that Garnacho has been clear with Manchester United. The message coming from the player is Chelsea or nothing. Chelsea or I stay here and I don't play football for the next 6 to 12 months, which just comes across, like as if he's got the power in this situation. I know he wants to go to Chelsea, but Chelsea have to pay the money for you, and that's the reality of the situation. Trying to hold the club to ransom when we're in the position of power here. Okay, call his bluff. And then see what happens, because we're in a I think anyway, we don't have to sell Garnacho. Yes, we want to because we need the money. We want the money to obviously reinvest in the squad, but we're not in a position where we necessarily have to because his wages are only 50 grand a week. So Sancho's different. I think Anthony's slightly different as well, but he's not costing us a great deal of money. So I think United could afford to, just keep him. I wouldn't even put him in the reserves with that sort of attitude, being honest. I wouldn't want that attitude intoxicating the rest of the reserves and ruining what we've got going on and what we're trying to rebuild with everything behind the scenes as well. And it just comes across, in my opinion, it's very childish, and it just shows his true colours. That's all I'm going to say regarding that. Because that must have come from Garnacho's side. So someone's told Fabrizio Romano, well, if we don't go to Chelsea, we're happy to sit here and not play football for 6 to 12 months in a World Cup year at 21 years old. That just comes across very, very childish, in my opinion. And as I mentioned, I think it just shows his true colours. And good luck to him. Good luck to Chelsea. Good luck dealing with that sort of attitude when he's on the bench every week behind Jamie Gittins and Pedro Neto and João Pedro and whoever else they've got in their squad. I genuinely don't know who's in the wing positions for Chelsea. But good luck dealing with it. And that's that. I just hope they pay up the money, and that's all. If not, actually, part of me now thinks, all right, if that's your attitude, do it. We'll just do it then, but don't put him with the reserves because I wouldn't want him in poisoning any players behind the scenes with the reserves. He can keep turning up to training at 5 o'clock and using the facilities, and that's about that. But that's my opinion. I think they'll end up just selling him anyway. But give us your thoughts and feelings on that in the comments below. And then Fabrizio Romano has updated saying that Alejandro Garnacho getting closer and closer to joining Chelsea. Clubs are now actively in talks to reach an agreement. Chelsea are now accelerating and want to get it done, entering final stages of this story. And good luck and good riddance to Garnacho if that's your attitude. Like I said, I think it's just showing his true colours. This whole scenario, I think it's just exposed him as exactly the reason why Ruben Amorim told him to find another club and effectively told him to F off. But give us your thoughts and feelings on that in the comments below. But obviously selling Garnacho does give us the money to move on with the rest of the transfer window. So let's go through all the latest regarding none other than Carlos Baleba, because he is seen as the player that we are going for. We're trying. I'm still not the bearer of bad news regarding that situation. So first and foremost, Laurie Whitwell. This was on a podcast, Talk the Devil's podcast, good podcast, go check it out, when he said the following: now you come to Carlos Baleba, and as you say, Brighton are going to ask for a lot of money for him. I don't know the exact figure. I don't think there's any that's been communicated yet. Clearly, United feel that they have a chance on this, otherwise they wouldn't be entering these kind of talks, and that's a good point from Laurie Whitwell. At the moment, we're trying. That must mean that we've got some sort of either encouragement, or we're just like, sod it, we're just going to try anyway and see, they're just going to roll the dice and see what happens, which is fair enough. He said, I think there's been going, I think they've been going on for a little bit of time via intermediaries, and now, as David Ornstein reported with Brighton as well, United feel that this is the summer to try and steal a march on other clubs that might go for him next year. So again, Laurie Whitwell saying, look, we're in talks via intermediaries, not just with the player, but also with Brighton. Obviously understanding what it would take and the cost and stuff, because if we can understand what Brighton would actually accept, it obviously gives us a lot more strength when it comes to the negotiations and stuff. The problem we had with Mbeumo is Brentford kept moving the goalpost and they didn't actually specify like a figure by all accounts, and then they went up to like £77 million and bits as well, and it became a little bit messy. But if we get a price from Brighton, then it helps us with the negotiations and maybe putting a deal on the table for them. Fabrizio Romano said that for Carlos Baleba, I don't expect any development today. So the situation was quiet today. This is a video he did yesterday, so he's talking about Monday. But over the weekend, Manchester United maintained contacts with the agent of the player. From tomorrow, so from Tuesday, I expect Tuesday, Wednesday, Man United to try to understand how the situation how is the situation with Brighton, if they have a chance to negotiate, or if it's going to be really impossible to break that wall that Brighton always build around their top players when it's time to sell them. Baleba is not closing doors to Manchester United. Personal terms will not be an issue. So Fabrizio Romano saying either today or potentially tomorrow, we're going to try to understand whether this deal is possible or not. Maybe we might even put an offer in on the table to Brighton, because we are in talks with intermediaries with Brighton and with the player. We know personal terms are not going to be an issue because he's not. He's one of the lowest paid players in the Premier League. I think I saw a report the other day suggested he's like $12,500 a week or something. So we know personal terms. By all accounts, the player wants to come as well. So we've done our side in terms of getting the player buy-in. We just need to do a deal or do something with Brighton, but it's going to take a massive fee in order to get this deal done. Andy Mitten said that Carlos Baleba to Manchester United is going to be quite difficult to do unless United make sales. The finances are tight at the moment. There is absolute willing from Baleba to join United, so that would link in, with the Garnacho situation. If the Garnacho situation is starting to accelerate, if we are finally going to get rid of Garnacho, that then obviously does give us more money and more manoeuvrability with a negotiation with Brighton. So we'll have to see how that plays out. Florian Plettenberg said that Brighton are fully informed about Manchester United's interest in Carlos Baleba, and but they are totally relaxed as they are still determined to keep him. More talks between the agents and Baleba are happening in the background. So Plettenberg not really given much of an update, just that they're relaxed about it. They're not necessarily panicked, and why not? They're in a position where they're either going to keep a very good player this season or get a shit ton of money. So, I would be relaxed in that situation as well if it was me. David Ornstein, though, in the Athletic deal sheet this morning, has said that Manchester United are continuing to explore whether a move for Brighton and Hove Albion midfielder Carlos Baleba can be agreed this summer. United are not expected to submit a bid for Baleba unless they believe there is a chance of success, with indirect conversations ongoing. So they were saying in the report that via intermediaries still, we are talking to both parties, Brighton and Baleba, as Romano said earlier, trying to understand. And as what Romano was saying is that maybe today or tomorrow, we might either walk away, or if we get some encouragement that a deal could be done, might even make a bid. And whether that depends on the Garnacho movement or not, we'll have to wait and see. I don't know, the entire financial situation at United, although there is an update on that in a second, which we'll go through. But and then they also said, David Ornstein also said that Carlos Baleba is keen on a Manchester United move and personal terms would not be a problem. A number of United players have been in contact with Baleba about a transfer, explaining the current landscape and ambitions. So Lenny Yoro, I'd imagine he'd be friends with or would know from his time at Lille. Andre Onana, agent Onana again. So if he's been talking to players and stuff, again, I think that's an encouraging sign as well. And then finally, Christopher Michel is a good journalist, said that Carlos Baleba is one of the lowest earners in the Premier League. This is where I read it. Brighton would have to offer him a significant pay rise to convince him to stay. Either way, it's possible that there will be some real movement in the coming weeks. So could be a big couple of days for them regarding the Carlos Baleba news, because by all accounts, if we get some sort of encouragement that this deal is possible, then we might make a bid and then start the negotiations and start that process with Baleba. Like, that's insane, isn't it? That's absolutely nuts. If we pull this off, then fair play to Ineos and that, because it's a massive amount of money, very difficult deal to do. We're very late in the transfer window as well, and he's a very good player that would absolutely walk into this team, I think, and solve a lot of issues in the midfield. Still needs work, still needs development and bits as well, but he's a really talented young player, and I think, like I said, I love his style of playing, his energy and his tenacity, and I like those sort of midfield, like an all-action midfielder as well. But give us your thoughts and feelings on that in the comments below. Now, interestingly, there's been a bit of movement on Donnarumma as well, which we'll run through. So firstly, Fabrizio Romano said Donnarumma will leave Paris Saint-Germain for sure, most likely this or eventually next summer. The relationship is completely broken after club decided to exclude Donnarumma from their squad for Super Cup. Premier League is the most likely destination. So if you haven't seen it, PSG have not included Donnarumma in their squad for the Super Club, which has obviously upset the player. Romano was saying he's not happy about the situation as well, but also now, obviously, they're basically forcing him out, aren't they? And that the Premier League is the most likely destination. And we've had reports from France saying that Chelsea and Manchester United have inquired about Donnarumma. The two clubs have expressed interest in recent days, but at the moment there aren't any concrete discussions as no formal talks have begun, saying that maybe Chelsea, of course, because they always are in for the players that we're in for as well, have inquired about Donnarumma, but no concrete talks or anything at this stage. Fabrice Hawkins, who's a good French reporter, saying that Manchester United and Chelsea have inquired about Donnarumma's situation in recent hours. So two reports from France saying that we've made inquiries about Donnarumma. Then we've had Laurie Whitwell saying it's clearly something that United are aware of. If it actually then progresses to anything substantial, I don't know. I'm more hesitant on that. I think the focus is sales and seeing if anything can happen with Baleba rather than the goalkeeper. So Laurie Whitwell saying, again on the Talk the Devils podcast, that we're aware of the situation with Donnarumma. Maybe that's where we have made some inquiries, but at the moment we're concentrating on exits and concentrating on Carlos Baleba rather than a goalkeeper. So it might be a position where we're just trying to get that deal done rather than the Baleba deal done. Rather than looking necessarily at Donnarumma. But give us your thoughts on that in the comments below. Then we've had Laurie Whitwell again in the deal sheet from this morning from The Athletic, saying that a transfer of Donnarumma is not expected to materialise. A signing could only take place if Andre Onana leaves, and there is no indication that this is the case for the moment. And that's always been my concern regarding the keeper situation. Yes, it's an opportunity. Yes, it's probably going to be a good price and good value for Donnarumma to come in. But the reality is he wants a massive amount of money in wages. And would you upset the apple cart by bringing in a goalkeeper and then Onana stays, and then you've got two goalkeepers, both on big wages, both with big personalities as well? I'm not sure how that would work. As good as an opportunity as it is, and like I said, sometimes you do have to go down these routes as well. But Laurie Whitwell is one of the most connected, one of the best journalists, I think, when it comes to United news, would only take place if Onana leaves. So does that mean that maybe Seny Lemens is more realistic? But I think Seny Lemens would be if Bayinda leaves. And at the moment, the reality is there's no interest or there's no links with Onana or Bayinda leaving. And if they don't leave, I don't know. Maybe we don't get a goalkeeper. Maybe we are putting all our eggs in the Baleba basket and going down that route. But we'll keep an eye on it and see how it all plays out. But give us your thoughts and feelings on that in the comments below, as I am sure that you will. Now, the dream scenario would be to get both, wouldn't it? So Manchester United are both Donnarumma and Baleba, but Manchester United are increasingly optimistic about securing deals for both Gianluigi Donnarumma and Carlos Baleba this summer. That came from Miguel Delaney, but that was before the reports that I've just brought you regarding from the Athletic and stuff. But yeah, that would be a dream summer, wouldn't it? If we could get Baleba and Donnarumma by the end of the transfer window, I would be massively impressed with that. Fabrizio Romano said Ruben Amorim is very happy with Manchester United transfer window till now, but together with the board, they have discussed internally that adding a goalkeeper and another midfielder in the squad would be a fantastic window for them. So maybe they are still looking at a goalkeeper, but I don't know if Donnarumma is going to be viable. And like I said, it's a difficult one because it's a good opportunity, Donnarumma. But then what do you do? So I think we'd have to get some movement on the goalkeeper. Maybe Seny Lemens would be the more realistic one at the moment, but we'll wait and see. We'll see how it all plays out. Now, in terms of how on earth we're affording this, interesting, Laurie Whitwell on the United's finances said that United have extended their revolving credit facility. Something around £300 million is what they already had available to them. They've dipped into this every summer market and basically slap it on the credit card and pay it back when they had a bit of cash flowing in. So interestingly, on the podcast, they were saying that United have extended. They've basically got another credit card or increased the credit limit on their credit card, which might be how we're allowed then. Because remember, from PSR perspective, we're okay, I think, to spend money this summer. It's just we don't have the cash to do it. And ideally, you want the money in to pay. That's what the club want to do. They want to get the money in. So we get the money from Garnacho, for example, use that towards the deals rather than using credit cards or using the credit facility, because that comes with interest. And then that obviously just increases the outgoings on debt, basically. But that could be how we're funding these deals. That could be how we're getting the money. We're like, well, sod it, we'll just do it now. And then next year, start paying it off if we get a few more sales. Like, again, are we going for Baleba because we're concerned that Bruno, or there's a deal with Bruno going next summer? Obviously, Casemiro's going; he's out of contract. That's going to be a massive, that's going to be a massive deal for us in terms of PSR and getting his wages off the book. Jadon Sancho will definitely be gone next summer as well. If he doesn't go this summer, if we end up having to do a loan at the end of the transfer window and paying half of his wages or whatever, he's definitely going to be gone because he's out of contract next summer as well. So are they just thinking, well, sod it, we'll just put it on the credit card, and then next year when we've got some more exits, and are they looking at it as well? Because next summer we've got the World Cup and bits as well. It might not be the right market to go out and do loads of transfers. This might be because Amorim keeps saying this is the summer because of the World Cup and no international football and stuff to make an impact. Is that what they're doing? Are they effectively trying to spend next summer's budget this summer, staying within the rules and within the PSR terms, putting it on a credit card and then paying it off in the future? Who knows? That could be one way they're looking to finance it. He said they've now got a wider berth on that. I don't know the exact figures. They have got more cash at their disposal via that method. So is that one of the ways potentially we're funding the Carlos Baleba, because we've increased the credit limit on the credit card or got another credit card or whatever, and we're like, okay, well, we'll just put it on that and then pay it off when we do get the exits, or as I mentioned there, next summer when Casemiro goes, when Sancho definitely leaves. Is there something going on with Bruno Fernandes? The more I think about it, the more I'm like, that feels plausible to me. I don't know for definite. There's no reports of that, but it feels like it could be something there. But we'll wait and see how it all plays out. Give us your thoughts and feelings on that in the comments below. And let's go through the final exit news. So on Rasmus Hojlund, Laurie Whitworth said that on Hojlund, I'm told if it's a sale, they'd accept less than his book value, which is around £45 million, as you have to include different selling on fees and things like that within the purchase price of saying, look, we could accept less than 45 million, but if you include like a sell-on clause and stuff, it would effectively take it up to that value, which is an interesting way to think about it. Pete Hall said that Inter Milan, Roma, Juventus and Napoli have joined AC Milan in contacting Hojlund's representatives, so that's good if we can get a bit of a bidding war, or we can get multiple teams in. Maybe one of them would buy him rather than the loan to AC Milan. Nico has said that, who's a good source, said that Man United and Rasmus Hojlund will meet tomorrow to discuss the striker's future, as he is no longer central to Amram's plan and could leave. AC Milan is the most likely destination if he departs, so that could be some more movement or some more updates if they're set if they're set to be another meeting this week with Rasmus Hojlund. And then Laurie Whitwell has said that AC Milan, Borussia Dortmund, RB Leipzig and Newcastle United are all monitoring the situation of Rasmus Hojlund. That would be interesting. I said to my brother-in-law the other day, actually, because he's a supporter of Rasmus Hojlund, thinks that he with the right service, and I get that argument as well, and I do totally see that point of view and actually agree with it as well. I do think with a bit more service, maybe he could be could show a little bit more, but my argument is not his goals, it's his general play outside of that I have an issue with Hojlund with. But I did say to him, well, if he's that good, why aren't Newcastle going in for him? Because they're desperate for a striker, and if Rasmus Hojlund is as good as you think he is, why would Newcastle not be looking at him? And then lo and behold, Laurie Whitwell's come out and saying that Newcastle are monitoring the situation of Rasmus Hojlund, although I think they would still prefer to go for other strikers in front of him as well, but that would be interesting. So either way, if we can get teams competing for him, maybe we do get a permanent sale, and then that gives us some more money for the Baleba fund, because that's going to cost a lot of money. But again, we'll wait and see how that plays out. And then finally, Jadon Sancho. So Manchester United want 20 to 25 million euros to approve Jadon Sancho's sale. AS Roma have requested info, while Juventus had agreed personal terms with him last July. If Nico Gonzalez stays, Juventus won't move him. So that came from Nico. That follows on from a report I brought you yesterday. I think it was from Alfredo Padula, who said a similar thing, that Roma have inquired about Jadon Sancho. Juventus have a deal, I think, in place or lined up, but they need to sell Nico Gonzalez to make the space in their squad. Otherwise, they're not going to move for Jadon Sancho. And then Fabrizio Romano said that if Jadon Sancho cannot find a suitable club for himself in the European market, there is a high possibility that his destination will be Turkey. So, it's interesting, isn't it, with Sancho, because, it's annoying. Because I think Besiktas are genuinely interested in, because the Turkish club, like Besiktas, will pay his wages, I think, but he doesn't want to go to the Turkish league. He wants to stay in the top 5 leagues, but then the European clubs don't want to pay him the wages, so he's going to have to take a pay cut to go to them. But then he's already refused a pay cut to stay at Chelsea. Like, I don't know. But either way, hopefully we'll get some movement on these deals. Well, we're bound to, because there's only, 19 days left or something like that of the transfer window now as well. So we'll just wait and see how it all plays out. But give us your thoughts and feelings on that in the comments below. Give us your shouts on all the other topics discussed in today's video. That's you all up to date with the latest news and transfer updates. Don't forget, smash a like on the video on your way out. Subscribe to the channel if you are new. See you in the next one.